Today, let's talk about how after almost 100 years, someone may have just found Amelia Earhart's plane. Amazon Prime has begun running commercials on their streaming service, and the biggest brands in America may be linked to using prison labor. All in our The Past Comes Back to Haunt Us episode of... All right, so we've got some stuff to talk about today. So, to keep it short and simple, hello, how are you? Good? Great. Alice?
Today's headline features a potential breakthrough in a long-standing mystery. CEO of Deep Sea Vision, Tony Romeo, claims his team may have located Amelia Earhart's missing plane. The discovery, made in the Pacific Ocean, could provide answers about Earhart's fate, a mystery since 1937.
All right, so we're about to deep dive into history. Fuck you, Patrick, it's my show and I'll do what I want. Anyways, Tony Roma, who's more of a deep sea detective than a CEO, believes he's found Amelia Earhart's Lockheed 10E Electra. His team, using an unmanned underwater drone, scoured over 5,200 square miles on the seafloor. It's like searching an area just bigger than Rhode Island, but, you know, underwater. They stumbled upon something 16,000 feet below the surface on the outskirts of Howland Island. This, as it just so happens, is the same area where Earhart and her navigator friend Noonan were supposedly supposed to refuel during their historic flight. Instead, they vanished, sparking one of the largest searches in history. Romero, a former Air Force intelligence officer turned underwater explorer, is betting big on the find. There's no other records of other plane crashes in that area from that era, so he's quoted saying, "You'd be hard-pressed to convince me that's anything but an aircraft." And not just any aircraft, he's convinced it's Amelia's. But before we break out the champagne, let's remember, it's not confirmed yet. Romero's team is planning another expedition to get a clearer picture. If they're right, this could be one of the greatest discoveries in aviation history. You know, with this type of technology getting so good, it's only a matter of time before we find Atlantis. Or like the Megalodon or something. Or the Kraken. Man, I am never going back in the ocean again.
In streaming news, Amazon Prime Video has introduced commercials for users who opt out of its new ad-free option. Starting Monday, users can avoid ads by paying an additional $2.99 a month. This change is part of Amazon's strategy to fund its content investments, including popular movies, TV shows, and Amazon Originals.
So Amazon is jumping on the ad bandwagon, and honestly, who's surprised, especially after Netflix's ad tier success story? Recap for you. Netflix, the big kahuna of streaming, launched its ad-supported tier a year ago and, well, it took off. They've racked up 15 million monthly active users on the plan. It's a lot of money. So, a tidal wave of ad viewership. Like I said, a lot of money. Now, Amazon is stepping into the ring. With Netflix setting the pace, the whole streaming landscape is evolving. Disney Plus is already seeing half of their new subscribers opting for their ad plan. It's like we're in the middle of a streaming renaissance where ads are becoming part of our viewing experience again. So... cable? Man, streaming services really like wearing their competitor's skin after the kill, huh? I mean, Netflix has announced brick and mortar stores and they've got that blockbuster show. Shit's crazy. Anyways, Amazon's promising fewer ads than what you'd get on traditional TV. They're trying to find that sweet spot, keeping us hooked on their content without bombarding us with commercials. Yet I'm suspicious it's going to come eventually. But considering the cost of Prime Video bundled into Amazon Prime's monthly or annual fee, adding a few ads might not be a deal breaker for everybody. Now let's talk about the bigger picture, shall we? The move by Amazon reflects a significant shift in the streaming industry's model. Yes, gone are the days when ad-free viewing was the norm. We're entering a new era where streaming services are exploring new ways to balance content quality with profitability. So, anyone out there going to be paying for the ad-free version? Which one and why? Sound off in the comments.
Our last story uncovers a hidden path from America's prisons to its dinner tables. A 2-year investigation by the Associated Press reveals that many of the country's largest food companies are linked to prison labor. Products made by U.S. prisoners, often under harsh conditions and for little or no pay, are found in the supply chains of major brands and supermarkets. This practice, legal and rooted in history, is now facing challenges at both federal and state levels.
Nice. Let's discuss America's prison labor and its ties to our food supply, shall we? And how it's become a sprawling, complex network that's been woven into the very fabric of our food industry. Imagine this: unmarked trucks rolling out of Louisiana State Penitentiary, also known as Angola, a place with a dark history as a former slave plantation. Now, it's a maximum security prison where inmates, many serving long sentences, are raising cattle. These cattle then journey hundreds of miles to end up in the supply chains of giants like McDonald's or Walmart. This is why you learn your history, people. If you don't, we're doomed to repeat it. Anyways, let's zoom out a little bit. Because this is a nationwide issue, the AP's investigation found that prison labor is intricately linked to a vast array of products in most American kitchens. We're talking about everyday items, your cereals, your hot dogs, flour, sodas, even rice. Why rice? Why? These products are on the shelves of nearly every supermarket in the country. Also, some of the goods are being exported globally, so there's that. Now think about the labor behind these products. These are some of America's most vulnerable workers. If they refuse work, they risk losing parole opportunities or face harsh punishments like solitary confinement. And yet they're often excluded from basic worker protections, even when seriously injured or killed on the job. The ethical implications here are, enormous. We're seeing prisoners working in industries with severe labor shortages doing the country's dirtiest and most dangerous jobs. The irony is wild. While the US blocks imports from countries using forced or prison labor, it's happening right here at home. But there is another side to this. Proponents of prison labor argue that it provides valuable skills and a sense of purpose. They claim that it can help with rehabilitation and reduce the likelihood of reoffending. In some places, it even allows prisoners to shave off time off their sentences. It's seen as a way for inmates to contribute positively and repay their debt to society. However, critics are calling for a reevaluation of this system. They argue that if prison labor is to exist, it should be fair, humane, and voluntary. They point out that the skills learned don't always translate to opportunities post-release, especially with the stigma of a criminal record. This story also raises questions about the transparency and ethics of our supply chains. How aware are we, as consumers, of where our products come from? And what responsibilities do companies have to ensure ethical labor practices, if any at all? I mean, many of these companies have policies against using forced labor, yet the reality seems to kind of contradict that stance. Interesting. And let's not forget about the historical context here. Some of these prisoners are working on fields that slaves once toiled. Kind of a chilling reminder that the past isn't as distant as we'd like to think, huh? Especially when your great-grandpa was like a slave or something. Having said that, let's talk about something that's a little more troubling to the story, at least in my view, and that would be the racial dynamics of the US prison system. Now, it's no secret that the prison system in the United States is disproportionately black. Many a young black and half-black men grew up without their dads because they got 25 to life. Wonder who that could be. This disproportionality brings to light, let's say, disturbing parallel: the echoes of slavery in modern corporate practices. Consider this. The United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world, and a significant portion of that population is black. This overrepresentation is a result of a myriad of factors, including systematic racism, socioeconomic disparities, and biased criminal justice practices. Now, when you add the element of prison labor into this mix, it paints a much grimmer picture. In places like Angola, which was once a slave plantation and is now a maximum security prison, the majority of the incarcerated population is black. These men, many serving long sentences, are working in fields raising cattle and producing goods for little to no compensation. The parallel to the antebellum South is, well, it's there and staring us right in the face. Guess as long as I don't have them picking cotton, it's fine. Hey, I can make that joke. My grandpa picked that cotton, so... It's almost as if corporate America has found a way to perpetuate a form of slavery through the prison system. Actually, let's have a little talk about private prisons, a sector that's grown significantly over the past few decades. These are for-profit entities that make money off the incarceration of individuals. The very existence of private prisons creates a perverse incentive to keep incarceration rates high. In other words, they'll lock your ass up because it's gonna make them $1. And these are the people giving money to the people making laws. So, watch your backs. When you combine this with the use of prison labor, it's not hard to see how this can be viewed as a modern-day slavery pipeline. Corporations benefit from the cheap labor, while predominantly black and brown communities bear the brunt of the system. Ethical questions should be raised here, no? Just me? Cool. And this isn't just about the legality of prison labor, it's about a system that disproportionately impacts people of color and profits from their labor. It's a system that seems to perpetuate cycles of poverty and incarceration, particularly in marginalized communities. The use of prison labor by major companies and brands further complicates the issue. While these companies may not directly own or operate these prisons, their supply chains are directly intertwined with this system of labor, so, what you gonna do? And on that, I'm gonna call it. Thanks for sticking through that thick episode with me. Now do me one last favor and hit that like button, help spread some news. Now, go through your fridge and throw everything away. No, don't really do that, okay? Bye.